So many coaches say, hey, when I think about powerful questioning, wow, it just caused my brain to freeze. It caused my mind to go everywhere, and I'm not sure how to ask questions. How do I ask questions? And questions seem to be my roadblock, and I'm just listening to this, but I'm not sure whether that's the question to ask. Am I asking too leading a question? Is my questions coming across too judgmental? Is my questions coming across too fierce, too hard, too rough, too quick, too slow? Am I stacking too much questions? So what on earth? How do I do that? How do I navigate through this whole messiness of questioning? Welcome everyone. Today we're going to focus on powerful questioning, inquiring into the client's world. So this process of inquiring the client's world is going to be really, really exciting for all of us to consider, and also going to be something really, really interesting for us to explore as well. Now, one of the things that when we think about inquiring the client's world is that how do we do it? How do we demonstrate it? How do we really show it? What kind of questions do we ask? Are there a particular set of questions we ask to help us inquire deeper into the client's world, or is it just general? Is it just something that is it just templated? Is it something that we just follow through? No, or is there something more? So I'm going to show you there's observable behaviors that we can see as we're exploring the client's world. Now, what we're going to look at first is this. Powerful questioning, it's not just about questioning people or just asking questions itself. Powerful questioning, it's the ability to ask questions that reveal the information that we need to maximize the benefit for the coaching relationship and the client. In this whole process of questioning, we're actually utilizing several components together and to review that information to evoke new awareness for the client. In this whole process, it's nothing to do with us as a coach, but it's everything to do with the client. So many coaches say, hey, when I think about powerful questioning, wow, it just caused my brain to freeze. It caused my mind to go everywhere, and I'm not sure how to ask questions. How do I ask questions? And questions seem to be my roadblock, and I'm just listening to this, but I'm not sure whether that's the question to ask. Am I asking too leading a question? Is my questions coming across too judgmental? Is my questions coming across too fierce, too hard, too rough, too quick, too slow? Am I stacking too much questions? So what on earth? How do I do that? How do I navigate through this whole messiness of questioning? So today we're going to focus on just one area that's going to help you take the first step forward to get clarity about powerful questioning process. So when you think about questioning, we always say this, right? There's a difference between powerful questions and difference between powerful questioning. Powerful questions are just a set of questions, but there's no such thing as powerful questions, because questions by itself, they're not powerful at all. Questions out of context, they are worse. They may do negative harm to the client than they did positive. So powerful questioning is a process. It is a process of listening, process of being present, process of direct communicating with the client. In that whole process, you're generating new questions that will inspire the client to move the client forward. In that process, that whole process is called powerful questioning. And why is it called powerful questioning? Because it has a dynamic impact on the client to shift the client's thought, to expand its horizon, to help them think beyond themselves, help them think and stretch their thinking from where they are to where they want to be. So when we think about this, the result of powerful questioning for all of us as coaches is, number one, first to evoke awareness. In the ICF Updated Core Competency, we know that this is competency number 7, evoking awareness. And that is so critical. And and ICF says this way: when we think about evoking awareness, it's a combination of factors. One, it's the listening ability. Second, it's the crafting ability to reflect the questions or reflective questioning. And the third is actually the ability to communicate to the client and sometimes to challenge his thinking, his thought, and his mindsets. The second thing is to bring the clients to new states of awareness, creating more choices and opportunities for the clients to explore, expanding the client's learnings, helping the client to find alignment and clarity about where they want to be, where they want to go. And the resultant of this whole powerful questioning process is action, and the action that is not forced, but it comes from the overflow of this awareness building. And one of the effects of powerful questioning as well is you will see momentum being created. You don't force momentum down the client's throat. Momentum is created. So when we think about this, many people want to get action first. But before action comes, the questioning must happen. And when the questioning happens, to happen the way it should happen, momentum is there. Now, that's another thing as well. When we consider powerful questioning, one of the key things whenever I help coaches through the whole journey in terms of mentoring or coaching coaches is that powerful questioning is composite competence, meaning to say it draws together competency like presence, listening, trust, direct communication to create in that moment questions that evokes awareness. So there's no one set question that fits every single context. There's no one set questions for us to memorize. When we memorize questions, what happens is that we try to feed the question questions in the conversation, and we're no longer present in the moment, we're no longer listening to the client. So to me, powerful questioning is best demonstrated when you are fully present with the client. On the weekday classes, we'll go deeper in the presence. On the weekend classes, we'll look at some of these techniques of questioning. Now, one of the key states in the powerful questioning process is the state of curiosity, meaning to say that for you, for us as a coach, what kind of state you should be in is the state of curiosity. Like being very curious about a client's world, the way of thinking, why do they believe that, and helping them to reflect whatever they've just said to you. This state of curiosity helps you to unravel and tear down the layers of walls that the client has built up, and also to help to point the client sometimes the things that seem obvious. Sometimes the thing that's very obvious, it's not obvious to the client. So the state of curiosity is one of exploration, one of just being curious about exploring different facets of where the client is right now. So one of the things that for us to consider in terms of inquiring the client's world is these few areas. So I want us to use these few principles today to explore into your client's world. Number one, thinking. What is the client thinking in their world? What are the underlying assumptions of those thinkings? Assumptions means those presuppositions that they have that frames the entire world. What are some of the underlying beliefs that they have? What are the values? What are the needs? What are the wants that the client has? Are there judgments within the client, within themselves, or are they hearing voices of judgments? Or are they hearing the voices of truth, telling them a different story? What are principles? What are the principles that's underpinning all the different conversations? What are the ideals? Are there all these things inside the client's world? So we are inquiring into one of these facets. So in our conversations today, I want us to explore with your clients, whoever you're pairing with, to consider one of these facets: thinking, assumptions, beliefs, values, needs, wants, judgment, principles, ideals. When we can try and focus on one of these areas, let's explore a little bit more, right? What are clients thinking about? Why is he thinking this way? What does it mean for him? Why does he believe this way? What formed that belief? What would the underlying values that the client possess? And we begin to inquire into the client's world. So how this is demonstrated is in this competency. Behavior marker for this is this: that the coach asks questions about the client, his, her, or their way of thinking, assumption, beliefs, values, needs, wants, etc., and inquires about thinking, assumptions, beliefs, values without necessarily using those exact words in the coaching process. So when I use all these different terms, I'm helping you to frame, to see what are some of these categories that you're trying to question. Are you questioning the intention of their thinking? Are you questioning the intention of their assumptions or their beliefs? So you don't have to use the word like, oh, what are you thinking now? Oh, what is the underlying assumptions there? Oh, what do you believe in? Those are using the exact words. You don't have to use that. You can use different ways of crafting that in the context of the conversation. So let me give you some examples. So one example can be, how did that feel for you when you were expressing all those inner thoughts? How did that feel for you? For you, particularly, right? As the client is sharing about, maybe their struggles, their conflicts, their thoughts, how did it feel when you were expressing all those inner thoughts? What was happening for you when all those conflicts were rising up? What was happening for you? You can ask also, what I'm hearing is that you prefer to do the same approach in the situation. Would doing the same thing help you to get the results that you want? Or you can ask, why would taking this approach be the pathway towards your success? Now that is an example of questioning the client's beliefs. Why would taking this approach towards be the pathway towards your success? Why the client believes that is true for them? What have you considered other pathways for yourself? What about the other pathways that is preventing you from choosing? What about the other pathways that has that you don't really believe in, or they don't really see, that could prevent you, or that could help you to get to where you want to be? So those are some examples. Another one for you to think about is, I hear you want to go for more diets, and you also want to have more time to relax, and you want more time to exercise, and all these are pulling you in different directions or pulling you apart. What would wanting to do all this do for you? What would wanting to do all this do for you? That is a challenge of their underlying assumptions, because they believe that they must have diet, they may believe they must have time, they believe they must have exercise, so they believe on all these things. So they have all these different ones. So what about the one things of the one that they want? Which one do they really want? Are all the one things the same layers for themselves? Or maybe they're more than that. So in exploring this focus of this behavioral competency is a very tricky competency because it's not about the situation, it's about the person. So I say again, this competency, behavioral competency, is focusing on not the situation, but on the person. So when you ask the question, you're asking the question to help the client reflect about who they are. What are they thinking? What are the underlying thoughts? So you're going deeper from just the surface issue of the situation, the challenge at hand, to going deeper about who the person is. So in this powerful questioning technique for us to explore today, it's inquiring into the client's world. So decide which one of these facets you're going to explore. You can explore their thinking, the assumptions, the beliefs, the values, or the needs or the wants today. As you explore this, allow the client space to express out, and then in that curiosity state, in that state of curiosity, go deeper and exploring, hey, why do you think that way? Are there other ways you could think about for this situation? That's really curious, Mr. Klein. As you're thinking about that, as you're sharing this, I could see and sense, a very strong energy that's coming forward. I can sense the momentum in your conversations, that you're moving forward much more. I'm just wondering, what are some thoughts that you have for that? So utilizing the emotions of the client, the assumptions, the belief that's drawing all these things to help you facilitate the conversations so that you can demonstrate this competency clearly. So this is going to be a very tricky competency to unravel because it's a highly contextual competency based on what the client has said before. And then when you ask the question, is to help them to shift a little bit, to think about their assumptions, to help them to consider or reflecting back to them the underlying assumptions, and pointing to them different patterns that you're observing for the clients as well. So for example, if it's across sessions, Mr. Client, from the previous session, you're mentioning this area, right? In this session, this area seemed to come up again. So that seemed to be like a pattern that's happening here. I'm just wondering, what are your thoughts on this? What's happening for you, right? What's happening for you through this whole sessions. So these are some questions that you ask yourself as you go through this whole process. So in today's conversation, what I encourage all of us to do is that as you explore this process of inquiring to the client's world, really consider and take a step back. Don't need to do all the process. Maybe for today, you want to focus on thinking. Maybe for some of you, want to think about assumptions. Maybe for some of us, want to do our beliefs. And then when you craft the questions, you don't have to use those words, thinking, beliefs, assumptions. Maybe you can craft in a way of using the client's language and then challenge some of the thinkings, explore more of the thinkings of the client. So not about the situation, but of the client. If you can do that in your breakout session, you would have achieved the powerful questioning for behavioral marker number 1.